Your feelings are very valid. To feel grief about your food allergy life in one way or another, it doesn't make you dramatic.
I'm at a restaurant clocking I'm having so much anxiety about this. Like, I'm just gonna have a wine. Like, you don't know what's going on underneath the surface.
You're going to be knocked down again and you have to get back up. And I think you do build some resilience, right? Like, you do get better at getting back up.
What you just described was resilience building.
Mm-hmm. Welcome back to EpiPod. Danielle's had anaphylactic food allergies her entire life.
And Sarah is a food allergy mom to 2 kiddos.
Managing this invisible health condition can feel so isolating.
Do you also feel like you have a degree in overthinking?
If you're nodding your head like me, then you're in good company.
Let's get you off that allergy island right now with people who get it.
Ready to dive in?
Today, we are talking all things food allergy grief.
Yes, and I feel like when you hear the word grief, your mind automatically goes to, right, like these tragic times in your life when you've lost somebody, somebody's died. And while in some ways food allergy things can feel like a big chunk of something is gone or missing or different, obviously we're not talking about somebody dying in your life.
It's not giving widow.
Right. We are talking about it in kind of a different sense of grieving maybe a life that you thought you were going to have, or this idea of like who you thought you would be, or even a dream that you had for yourself and it's changed.
Totally. It's grieving something that you thought was going to be that no longer really has a shot of being.
Yeah. And I can tell you that anytime I have posted anything about grief on my page, I have been flooded with people saying, oh my gosh, yes, that's exactly how it feels. Or like, I was not embarrassed, but like nervous to call it that, because again, grief is automatically usually combined with somebody passing. And it doesn't make it less, like, your feelings are very valid. To feel grief about your food allergy life in one way or another, it doesn't make you dramatic. It doesn't mean like that you're making it more than it is. It's a very valid emotion to have, because again, I can tell you from my page, like, there are just dozens, maybe hundreds of people who message me saying, yep, me too. That's how I feel.
It's like very easy to, like, you have this person who, let's say they've been in a tragic accident and they're quadriplegic now, or like they just found out they have stage 4 bone marrow cancer. And I'm over here being like, well, it's really hard to have severe food allergies. Like, you can't say that out loud to somebody who's in a different camp.
Sure. Know your audience.
But to the point where like, you're not even feeling like you're allowed to say that to yourself. But at the end of the day, pain is pain. And just because like your extenuating circumstances are throwing you for a loop, just because they're not something traditional or something that you're going to see on a sitcom or something that's going to feel familiar to everybody, doesn't mean that it's not really real and really, really difficult for you.
Yeah. And I will say, usually what I'm talking about when I'm talking about food allergy grief, at least on my Instagram page, is related to grieving a motherhood experience that I envisioned, right? And we all envision something differently, but I do think that the majority of moms are pregnant thinking a few similar things, right? You're going to have a kid, hopefully, that is healthy and happy, and all of the things that you like doing with your spouse or your friends or your family, you're going to get to be able to do those things that, I don't know, what you grew up doing yourself, that you're going to get to do those things. The traditions that you have, you're going to get to do those things. And as I even say the words out loud, like, I get a little bit of a chill, because it hurts even now that we're on the other side in so many ways through treatment, that we're not even living the quote unquote food allergy life that I used to even 6 months or a year ago with my family. Like, it still stings that years were stripped. It feels like it was stripped from us. And dialing it back even more, it's like, I hope nobody listening is like, are you kidding me? Your life is great, whatever. And it's like, oh no, it is. I love my life. I love my family. I'm grateful every day for everything that I have. And It can be both. Totally. I can be grateful. I can be thankful. I can love my life. And I can still grieve the fact that what I envisioned for my life, for my young motherhood experience, was so drastically different than what it turned out to be.
Totally. You're not going to the park with your, baby toddler and your newborn, and you're juggling kind of both, and you're letting him go off to the swings by himself and having a whatever, and here baby, like here's some goldfish. Like everything that you envisioned is colored by, like, did he touch something? Is that a rash? What's going on? Do I need this life-saving medicine to literally get him emergency services right now? Like you're on
the hypervigilance of it all.
You're on a totally different mental plane than what you thought the mom going to the park was going to be.
100%. And it's like, I think about when you were going through that, vision in your head or out loud, I was thinking in my head, like, I wish the only thing I had to carry in those moments was my tote bag full, right? Of like snacks.
Yes.
Like of like normal kid snacks. Or like, I wish the only thing that I was worried about was like, oh, is he going to fall from the playground? Like we have all of those same things. Those things still exist in an allergy mom's head. And we also have the other things that you mentioned. Do we have our EpiPens? Did he touch something? Is the kid going to feed him or share something with him when I'm not looking and when I'm trying to chat with my mom friend on the playground? Like, we don't have the same experience as the allergy mom or as the non-allergy mom, but we also have to carry those things. So we have to carry it all. So it's everything from that to, the breastfeeding experience, which we've talked about before, thinking that, it's just going to be this easy ride. And it was not. It was torturous. It was me feeling guilty later on about, I didn't know that these things that I were eating were causing such issues for my kid. Like I was essentially hurting him, but like, I didn't know.
Right. Even when we did that episode, I could see you asking questions for your past self, like trying to figure out like, what could I have done better?
Totally.
Because
you feel this sense of guilt over it, which is kind of related. Like guilt, I guess probably could be its own episode, but like, guilt and grief kind of go hand in hand, at least when it comes to food allergies.
We're both just like bad, ugly monsters that live in our head that sort of like Tasmanian devil style feed each other into this like vicious cycle.
Oh yeah. No, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. I've talked about on, I think like the going out to eat episode that we did way long time ago in the beginning of season 1. For me, a big piece of that too was this idea that me and Mark love food.
No, you guys are like capital F foodies.
Yeah. Like, one of the things we loved to do the most together before we had children was going out to eat, and not only just going out to eat, but like finding the new hip spot, like trying a new cuisine that we've never tried before, like being brave and adventurous on the food scene. And I think I told this story, but like, I remember pregnant sitting in a, fancy ramen shop and watching this little boy, he was probably no more than 2 years old, like slurping one of the, what do? They like age it for a long, for a long time, like the egg. And it's like a soft boiled situation, and being like, oh my gosh, this little kid's like slurping a different cuisine of things and like eating eggs that are cooked differently. And I was like, that's going to be our kid. 'Cause we like that. And we're just going to bring him everywhere. And he's just going to know all this stuff. Yeah. And, it couldn't have been further from the truth. Totally. Not only could we not go there, but we couldn't even go anywhere. We literally had to cook everything all the time.
Yeah, you couldn't go to Applebee's.
No.
You couldn't drive through McDonald's.
Correct.
Yeah.
Until very, very recently, in fact, and he's going on 7 years old. So it's grieving the experiences you thought you'd have, the traditions you thought you'd have, thinking about Christmas morning or, setting out things for Santa. A couple years ago when we were setting out flax milk for Santa, Graham truly at one point like got a look in his eyes that I swore he was going to cry because he was nervous that Santa wasn't going to want his milk.
Santa didn't like flax milk.
Yeah, he only likes regular cow's milk, you know?
The way that it'd be like, Santa used to have allergies too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Santa has to go to California for his allergy treatment too. Graham.
Yeah. I know.
The lore would just...
I know. And I mean, obviously that was just like a quick fleeting moment. Like we talked to him, but I'm just saying like everything is colored by food allergies because food impacts everything and is needed for everything and is involved in everything. And so our entire life looked different. I think I also thought I was going to be a really social mom in the sense that like, oh, y'all want to, go to the pizza place real quick for dinner, like the neighbors, with the young kids the same ages, like, these visions in your head are just like, oh yeah, we're going to be able to like pick up and go and be kind of free spirited. Like, no, I mean, allergies takes all of that away. Yeah. There's no convenience. There's no jumping, going anywhere, anytime. Not when you have littles that you can't control the environment and you can't control them essentially because they're tiny and little. I mean, everything was different.
So where do you go from there? Like, I can just imagine people listening to this in their cars being like, yeah, I'm the same. Like, I feel the same. And other than if you're in a position where you haven't allowed yourself for whatever reason, whether it's like guilt or like you feel like you have been blessed with so much more than like your kid, being at the children's hospital for some rare disease.
Sure.
Like, whatever it is that you haven't let yourself process. Like, what I'm hearing is, it takes a lot, and then it takes a lot to admit it to yourself and like live it. But then is there anything else that you
have done to like get over that hump?
Yeah. Or will we ever get over it? Because as the 33-year-old who is the food allergy person, I'm not over it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever be over it.
Yeah. I think
now it's time to hear from one of our sponsors, Larissa's Kitchen.
Get 20% off the only certified top 9 allergen-free meat snack at larissaskitchen.com. That's LORISSAS kitchen.com. Use promo code EpiPod.
Not only are they certified top 9 allergen-free by Menu Trinfo, they use 100% grass-fed and finished beef or free-range poultry, and they're zero sugar.
Larissa is an allergy mom that knows the struggles firsthand and founded Larissa's Kitchen to enable everyone to snack fearlessly.
Use promo code EpiPod to get 20% off your first order at larissaskitchen.com. LORISSAS kitchen.com.
Yeah, I think first step for me is certainly allowing myself to feel the emotion. And I think that is what I hear from a lot of people is that once I've spoken it, it feels less dirty for them. You know what I mean? So I think
somebody said it first, or somebody went off the deep dive at summer camp. So now I'm okay to go off the deep dive.
Like I took the jump first for them. And I think that feels like relief in a lot of ways. Like hopefully someone feels that way now, because I think you're never going to get over it until you process that that's exactly what's going on, that's what you're feeling, that you don't have to feel guilty for feeling that way, that's, I think, a pretty normal reaction to your situation, to your scenario. And that, similar to what you said, like you don't have to compare yourself to the mom of the kid who is in and out of children's hospital, like for something else debilitating. Like that is you're comparing apples to oranges.
You're comparing apples to Triceratops.
Exactly.
Like, what?
Yes. And we don't have to compare traumas and like rank them in order. Now, again, granted, know your audience, right? Like you would never, it's like somebody complaining to me about, oh, my kid is so picky. They're only eating X, Y, and Z. It's like, okay, well, my kid only has X, Y, and Z to eat because otherwise they're going to have an anaphylactic reaction. Like
totally,
we got to know who we're talking to, right? Like I can't be complaining to the kid or the parent whose kid is very ill, right? Like my kids are very healthy. They have food allergies, but they're healthy. So yes, no, you can't just go around like complaining and woe is me, but like you can enough to process your emotions, right? And to either your allergy bestie or to your husband or to yourself or to your therapist.
Yeah. I was going to say like journaling and therapy is what's for me. Like I will never be over this.
Right.
Not because I live it every single day, but if I didn't have my journal and I didn't have a therapist who was a food allergy and food allergy anxiety specialist. Like we say it in the intro and like you and I say it to each other all the time. Like, I'm so glad I don't have to explain anything to you. Like you don't have to say because like there are so many times when I'm talking to my therapist where I'm like, and I did that because, and she's like, Danielle, I know why you did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, of course you did that. Like, I know why you felt like you needed to wipe that down 3 times because you're terrified that whatever it was, the OIT stuff that you had laid out on the counter is now going to put you in danger at 4:00 in the morning. Like,
totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think, admitting it to yourself, allowing yourself to feel it is definitely step number 1. Connecting with other, food allergy parents or people in similar situations as you, I think in any situation that you're going through is important, but definitely, again, like you said, we say it in the intro, like, you're ready to get off the island. Like you have to get off of the island and swim to the mainland. Like you have to find other people in your circle so that you can feel a little bit, a more sense of normalcy. I would also say, it's a new journey for me, but therapy, you've been on it. You've been on that therapy. Yeah. You have for longer than I have, and it did inspire me to do it. And I've been wanting to for so long, but it does help you like better process that feeling. That again, you have like this icky like connection to, I don't know, you're like, oh, I feel bad saying this, but like there are trained people out there who can help you understand that like it's totally normal to feel that way, and also how to move through it. You can't linger there.
No, I will say this. We both we're similar in ages. We're 30s girlies. And we both come from a time where therapy was really taboo or like for crazy people or people who really needed help. Like, oh, wow, that person needs help. And so it was really hard. I should have been in therapy probably when I was in middle school. That's when I first started like really showing some really negative tendencies of just anxiety. I didn't know what to call it then, but it would have been life-changing if I had those tools earlier.
Yeah.
So if you are in our boat and you're a similar age and come from similar people who love you so much, but you never saw anybody in your life go to therapy, so it didn't seem normal and it felt like shameful to do. Or if you hear me being like, and go to like somebody who's food allergy trained, and you're like, well, where am I going to find one of those? Because I live in Ohio. I don't live in Texas or whatever. We're going to put the link of how I found my person. If you are looking for somebody specifically who's food allergy trained, which was something I needed, I'll show you, because it was like one and done. And I lucked out because I know you have to like date therapists, but I didn't have to.
Yeah.
I married my high school sweetheart.
And we also definitely need to do a whole episode on like, how to find a therapist and like the importance of it and just kind of talking through therapy in general.
The link is there. I know if you're listening and you know that you should talk to somebody, which I think everybody should have a therapist.
Totally.
Now that I've been through it. But we'll link the like specific food allergy therapy directory in the show notes.
Yeah.
Something that I was really resonating to what you were saying is like, I feel like the way that I present, like you would never know unless you looked inside my purse and saw my little like Allermates pack. Like you would never know all the things that are going in my head. I'm looking at did my dog like accidentally step in those like random pistachio shells that like, why the hell did somebody leave those on the street? Or like I'm at a restaurant clocking like, like I'm having so much anxiety about this. Like I'm just going to have a wine. Like you don't know what's going on underneath the surface. And so I felt a lot of the time like, well, I look really fun and I am really fun and I look really like normal and I'm not normal, but like, I'm just a girly. Like I love clothes and my friends and wine and a dog and I love books that everybody else loves. Like basic, that's what I'm saying. Like I love Target. And I felt like almost like I was tricking people, not tricking people, but I was like, well, if only they knew what was going underneath the surface, especially with guys. Like guys would like immediately be interested in taking me on a date or like want to walk over and flirt with me. And I'm like, they don't even know what they would be signing up for.
Yeah.
Because I present so normal, but underneath it is this thing that overtakes my entire brain and life. It doesn't matter if I'm going on a walk, I'm looking at what I'm stepping in, or like what is going to be above me. Like, is there nuts in the bird feeders above me that a bird is going to accidentally sprinkle on me? Like, it's so everything. It's not just not having a accidental Snickers, like that terrible Super Bowl commercial last year.
Yeah.
But, so I think I didn't even know that I needed this, but like having people who it's so easy, like when I first met them online, usually it's through Instagram, where I'm like, oh my gosh, this girl has like such a sick job, or like, wow, like their marriage, I would love to have a wedding in Positano. Or like, oh my gosh, like look at this mom, like she's having her kid try all these new foods. And it's not until I realized like, oh my gosh, she has an anaphylactic peanut allergy too. Yeah. And she figured out how to expose her kid. And like, if she can do it, I can do it. Or like, oh my gosh, like she is allergic to 9 things, anaphylactic to 9 things. And she's traveling all over for work. Or I certainly can go to my family vacation, in South Texas. Yeah. Or like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if some guy is like, the cuteness will wear off eventually. Like he will see me with my hair frizzy and my retainer at some point. Like at some point, like this is going to be too much for somebody. And it's like, well, look at that. Their marriage is stronger because of it. And like, he is her biggest cheerleader, advocate, protector, safety net. Like she's not too much for him. Yeah. And like, it's so easy to have grace for other people or to see other people as like, yeah, well, it's, it's because they're able to do that because they don't have what's on my plate. So having people around you, even if it's just digitally, who do share your load, like they do know what it's like to have even a walk, it be in the back of your head of like, clocking what's around me. They know that life. They know what it's like. And to be able to see other people live their life large has been so integral for me. Yeah. Like, and to be able to like reach out and be like, I'm really struggling with this. Like, example, I used to kiss random people all the time in college, but
close your ears, mommy and daddy. Yeah.
They don't listen.
Yeah. Okay, good. Perfect.
Okay. And if you do, it's time to turn it off. Just kidding. I would like go to music festivals and like ask the question, but I wouldn't like really investigate. And I'd be like, oh, whatever, I'm in the middle of nowhere. Who cares? Like he's hot. Yeah. Now I'm in a stage where I'm just like, oh my gosh, like what's in his sunblock? Like what, like I'm thinking about it way too much. So having somebody to be able to like, okay, I know you recently started dating somebody new. I'm having a hard time like trusting somebody new. Like it's been so long since I've trusted somebody to like have to change the way that they eat too. Yeah. Just like having somebody there who does get it so that you're constantly exposing one another and you're doing it for them too. Like you're constantly taking turns going off the high dive. Yeah. Like finding somebody in your life stage is really important. This is a conversation with my friends all the time, but it's like with marital status, like everybody is like living such different versions of life right now. Yeah. That like, it is so important to have a best friend who is in your life stage. Like for me, somebody who is, I can call and be like, do you want to go to the winery right now? I know it's Tuesday afternoon, but like, come on, let's just get off work. You go finish your meeting and like, let's go to happy hour at the winery across town, Yeah. And you can't do that with your best friend who
married
literally,
with kids. Yeah.
No, literally like had a baby 2 weeks ago. Like you're not, that's not the girl who you're going to try and convince to go to happy hour.
She's sad about it, but yeah, you're right.
She's skipping over your Instagram story. Yeah. But I didn't realize that until pretty recently that like, I also need somebody in my life stage of allergies. Like I need somebody who is dating, or I need somebody who used to live their life one way and isn't able to anymore for whatever reason, like they're having a roadblock. Yeah. So like finding whoever that is for you, which thank God for the internet, because I wouldn't know all of those people without it.
Well, I know one thing you are for other people is somebody who can help them through when things don't go your way. Because I mean, we've talked about it on the podcast before, and people can go listen in depth to those episodes. But I mean, recently you stopping OIT, I feel like when we're on the subject of grief, I mean, you, just like I did before I had kids and I was pregnant, like you were in this beginning OIT process at the beginning, or even deciding, hey, I'm going to do this. And you had these ideas, you had these plans for what your life was going to be.
You had to have those ideas because you're like, I'm literally going to hell and back every single day at 10 o'clock in the morning. Like I need a bag of tricks to motivate myself, you know? And it was like, you won't have to deal with this anymore if you keep doing this, or like, you don't. And I didn't realize in the moment that like, and if it ends up not being for you, you're going to have to dismantle the sandcastle in the sky that you built for yourself. And it's going to get washed away quick, and it's going to make this even harder.
So did you have that? I mean, do you have, or did have, or maybe still do, this sense of grieving the after OIT life that you thought you'd have?
Yes and no. Yes, I grieved the idealistic new life that I would get to live, that I had in my head that was my motivator.
Yeah.
No, I don't grieve. I am so solid in my decision to not have that, because like our guts, especially as allergy people, is the only thing that we have sometimes. And when my gut was screaming at me to stop and I wasn't listening to it, like when I reframed it as like, you are honoring yourself.
Yeah.
The ideal doesn't exist, but you are honoring yourself. And it was all in service of my ultimate goal. And this is like something that I do grieve very heavily all the time, is the way that I used to live. I have had anaphylactic nut allergies my entire life. I didn't know it until I had a really bad accident. I didn't know that I needed an EpiPen until I needed an EpiPen.
Yeah.
I didn't know the research. I didn't know it was any different than my lactose intolerance when I was little, which now looking back, we've said before, like that might've been an anaphylactic milk allergy. Danielle. I just didn't know. And so I was able to have a healthy level of caution and a healthy level of keeping myself safe without letting the anxiety like just take over and make the decisions for me. And so it was in service of getting back there. Like, okay, how do I now carry this EpiPen all the time and have this knowledge and have gone through this traumatic experience? And then you add like another whopping traumatic experience that the pandemic really is the thing that was like the before and after event of like, oh, it's so much easier to not eat out, and it's so much easier. And I'm so hyper fixated on my health and like staying healthy because this crazy pandemic thing. It really messed me up. It really did. So it was all in service of getting back to the way that I used to live. Traveling, ordering room service, not caring that the whole plane was eating peanuts around me, not freaking out if I got a tickle in my throat, trying new snacks and being like, oh, let me smell that. That smells off. Not going to swallow that. Like, spitting something out and not worrying, like, do I need to use my EpiPen? Just being like, I'll just like eat some ice, and if I need
see where it goes.
Yeah. If I need to do something else, I will. But like,
because at the end of the day, you were fine before.
I was fine.
Yeah.
Granted, I really think that was providence. Like, I think I had like God's hand on me.
Yeah. You were lucky. Yeah.
It's because it's crazy. Like how reactive I am. Like I don't have like a little allergy, and we know little allergies don't exist, but like it wasn't something mild. Like I had crazy responses to just like skin contact, you know? So it wasn't something little, but all to say, I grieve my brain space of where I used to be at before I knew everything I know now.
Yeah.
And so it was all in service of getting back there.
OIT was.
Yeah. Like that's the way that I was able to healthily, is that a word? Healthfully?
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that.
Yeah. The way that I was able to reframe it in a healthy way is like, it's not that you failed out of OIT, which I hate the terminology. It's just that wasn't the path forward to get you to that ultimate goal. My ultimate goal was not to graduate OIT.
Yeah.
My ultimate goal was to return back to being able to live my life the way that I used to, being careful, taking good care of myself, doing my due diligence, but not having this like monster live on my back all day, every day, the way that it does.
And maybe you don't fully grieve the loss of the life that would have been post OIT in some ways too, because it was a choice. Like the fact that you said you used the word like decision, like you got to decide. I think sometimes like for me, that's what feels very unfair.
That's so
it's
true.
Like I didn't get a say. Like I didn't get to decide what my life was going to be. It just was. And so I think for me, that's what it was. But in a way also, like hearing you talk, I'm like, yeah, you made the choice and you feel good about the choice, but you made the choice based off of like ways you're feeling and like, you know, your mental capacity and things. And in a way that's not really your choice, right?
No.
Like in a perfect world,
I wouldn't have to do this.
You wouldn't have to do it. You wouldn't have allergies in the first place. And then you also would have not had the anxiety and would have been able to finish OIT. But like anxiety is not something that you necessarily, I mean, you don't have a choice over it. Like you can treat it.
My anxiety is not just like something that like, oh, she has anxiety. My anxiety is like a literal trauma response. Like it's my body trying to protect me from not dying because that almost happened once, you know? So yeah, anxiety and the mental health portion of it is very similar to like the allergy portion of it.
Right.
It's not like, oh, she's nervous or like, oh, she's worried.
Right.
So it's so true. Like I didn't choose that either.
Yeah.
I didn't choose for those bad things to happen to me to like make me have a trauma response. So yeah, I think, I am grieving it all every day. It probably will never go away, but it's like having a lot of getting really clear with myself on like, what is the ultimate goal? What is going to get me there? And then you just have to focus on that and not let the rest distract. Like once I've like felt it.
Yep.
So I think that's how I got over having to fail out of OIT is like, I'm going to cry my eyes out about this. This was so disappointing. I grieved it as many times as I need to, whenever it comes up, like I allow myself to grieve it. It hasn't come up for a long time because I'm so stoked to not do it anymore. And two, like, I really am focused on taking a good care of myself. And what that means is like throwing my full self into serving the ultimate goal. And the ultimate goal is to live safe and happy. And OIT didn't feel safe and OIT made me miserable. Yeah. So that like distilled it down for me. So I think you can do that with a lot of different ways of allergy grief. Yeah. Like sometimes I feel like, oh, like I want to go, like it's not fair that I don't get to go to that Thai restaurant that everybody's going to for the after party. And it's like, I allow myself to feel pissed. Yeah. And then I'm like, I'm exhausted. I miss my dog. I want to read my book. And also like, I'm stoked to go home and eat that like chocolate cake that I made. Yes.
We want to take a minute now to tell you a little bit about a brand that we really love, Pulse Power, a high-protein, all-natural chickpea-based snack line that is co-founded by an allergy mom.
They have delicious snack sticks and chickpea spreads that are made in a dedicated top 14 allergen-free facility.
A great choice for school lunches and snack boxes. I heard you say like grief comes in waves. And I mean, they say this even when it is the traditional grief, right? That you've lost somebody. And I feel like it's true for allergies too, or at least the way I have processed like the grief of what I thought my, young motherhood life would look like. It does. It comes like, at first it's like this big tidal wave, right? It's the tsunami and it smacks you down and it keeps you down for a while. And then you kind of get up and you take a breath, and then maybe something else knocks you down, some other event comes up and you feel it again. You feel this like moment of grief, and then you pick yourself back up again, and maybe the wave comes a little like further out. It doesn't come as fast this time, but like you still have moments all throughout your journey where you're going to be knocked down again and you have to get back up. And I think you do build some resilience, right? Like you do get better at getting back up.
What you just described was resilience building. And like, most people in their life are going to have the hard knocks to build resilience. Like if you're going to be a person with very high resilience, it's probably because you had very frequent hard knocks. And as allergy people, you're getting hard knocks every day, at least 3 times a day when food is around. And you're also having to do it like undercover cop style. Like nobody knows that it's going on.
Right.
It's crazy. Like you are at the end of the day, like a ninja, like you're building like crazy resilience.
Totally.
Which is hard, but also beautiful. I think something with allergy grief that didn't come out until later is grieving relationships. Like the way that my allergy sort of like this post-pandemic, post-traumatic event, it really affected my relationships, especially with my parents. Like the way that I go home, and it's just easier on everybody if I make all my own food, have my own Tupperware, keep it in the guest house kitchen. It's a lot less stressful for me to stop having the same conversations over and over. It's a lot less stressful for them, but it is really sad. It is really sad that I don't feel comfortable having the pie because the plate wasn't double washed, and I'm not sure, but that might have been the one that was used for the pecan pie at Thanksgiving. And did you not double wash it? Or I don't want to keep having the conversation of can we double wash it?
And then you getting kind of annoyed or rolling your eyes about the question.
And then getting annoyed with me and like feeling like then I'm feeling guilty because I'm like, ugh, they're just like in their golden years trying to enjoy their freaking pie.
Yeah.
And then, oh my gosh, now my mom feels bad because I won't eat her food. Like it's just like this vicious cycle. It is so hard. And that is something that I've had to grieve a lot lately because I was home for those several months throughout the holidays. I really miss my childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I feel
how like easy and turnkey it was.
I feel like we've talked about this on one of our earlier episodes, but like, you know, maybe my last tip of like, you know, yes, you're going to get knocked down again. You're going to build that resilience. You're going to like find ways to make new traditions, and it's going to be lovely and beautiful. And we're all going to get there, and we have to have hope and like, you know, march forward always, but also like peppering in new little fun things for you. You talked about how you've like started your cooking journey and like you're taking on this new challenge that like in a lot of ways has been something that you're using to like put one foot in front of the other after dealing with some of this grief, like learning something new. And I think that would be my advice to other people is to like, just try something new, maybe find something else that you didn't think, almost like overcorrecting, like, you know, like, yes, you didn't think you would have this allergy life that you're living and it was unexpected and it's hard and you're grieving it, but like, why not double down? Like find something else that like you don't know about, that you can learn about, that you can, or maybe jump in and advocate, like do something to make yourself feel new and free in a different way. And maybe in some ways that can help you like get back up between those waves of grief that come.
Totally. I feel like, OIT, my TikTok taking off because of allergies, working so much with Dr. Silvers, like doing the podcast even, like or like my inbox, like I'm constantly, which I'm so privileged and I feel so honored to do this, but like people reaching out to me and I'm like, oh my God, this terrible thing happened. Like, has anything happened this to you? And I'm like, now I have to relive. Yes, actually something did happen. Like it's a lot. Yeah. It became my whole personality. And so now I'm like, all right, we're wiping off the whiteboard. And what is life-giving? The podcast is life-giving. Answering DMs when I feel like I'm in a good place to do that is life-giving. And that's it. I don't want to watch other people's allergy content. That's not life-giving. I'm gotten off of all of the Facebook chats. I don't want to know that you had a reaction to the oatmeal that I've eaten every single day for the past 25 years. Yeah. Like, I don't want or need to know any of that. Like
protecting yourself from that.
Yeah. So I think just being really aware, like for me, a tool to be able to focus on resilience and grieving in a healthy way and whatever, that also comes hand in hand with boundaries and not making this my whole personality. Like I am this sparkly person who also has this thing. I'm not this thing. And my name is Danielle. Yeah. And I think like a lot of other people there's a lot of other like life stages that can feel that way, or like even like professions that can feel that way, other health conditions that can feel that way. And so also when I looked around, I was like, oh, like it's just how I'm choosing to define myself. And once I made that flip, and I'm like consciously doing that every day.
Yeah.
Of like, you are not like you are not your allergy. You are so much more than that. And constantly reminding myself of that. Like,
I love that.
It's so much more fun to be yourself than to be your allergy.
I feel like that is the perfect little bow, the little topper to the cake to end this episode. And I think that knowing that, like, if you're listening and nodding your head, like we say in the intro in the beginning, like you're not, this is not you being dramatic. This is not you being abnormal. Like, this is so normal. We all feel it, and we just need to keep doing the best we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go get a therapist.
Go get a therapist. That's right. That's right.
And we're going to go get lined, or at least I am.
Yes, let's do it. Okay. Well, join us next week. Leave us a review if you loved this episode. And we can't wait to talk more, to be right back here next week.
See you next week.